would you think is forgetting, like not dealing with it, but actually actively dealing away with it. It's not just not dealing with it, but rather dealing away with it and keeping the memory of it. It's not, we keep it, the memory of the Amalekites alive. I don't think that if the Amalekites would not get into the Bible, nobody would remember them today, right? So it's not a commandment to forget, in a sense. It's a commandment to remember and to blot out and to actively, if they, we remind ourselves them every year. So it's not that we have to deal away, to blot out the remembrance means like not to mention them ever again, but rather to mention them, to remember, to understand, and to actively fight evil. Okay, so Saul is commended. As we remember, Saul takes pity on Agag, the king of the Amalekites, and some of the flock, the best of the flock, and it ends up being that Haman is from the line of Agag. Haman Ha'agagi, the book of Esther is telling us that Haman is Agagite. Okay, so he is spared at least long enough to continue the Amalekite line leading to Haman in the book of Esther. We have to remember that he does pay the price. Samuel is killing him instead of Saul. Okay, and the Haftarah is dealing with that misplaced mercy and the failure of leadership by Saul, prioritizing this honor and beauty in kind of chivalry terms over the command of God for justice and for fighting evil. And we have a few interesting grammatical remarks to make, and then I want to talk about the context and the connection to 10:7. So pāqadti, ko amar Adonai Tzevaot, the messenger formula, the prophet as the messenger of God. Ko amar is the messenger formula. Thus says either a person or in this case God. Pāqadti, I have visited. In this case, I have punished, or I will punish, right? Whatever the Amalekites did to Israel, asher samlo baderech ba'aloto mimitzrayim. We've talked about that when they came from Egypt. Ata. So we have the word ata. The word ata literally means and now, okay? But this word is oftentimes in texts in the Bible and in extra biblical sources from the First Temple period, we learn that the word ata moves from the concept to the implementation, to the concrete instruction. Ata, now, we have talked about the background. Now I'm going to give specific instructions. Lech, go. Vehikkita et Amalek. V'hacharemtem et kol asher lo. So we have a sequence of instructions. First one is an imperative, followed by Weqatal, Vehikkita, V'hacharemtem. Okay, note the definite direct object marker et. Vehikkita et Amalek, V'hacharemtem et kol asher lo. V'lo tachmol alav, explicitly mentioning do not have pity over them. Okay, so we've seen the imperative followed by the Weqatal, both Vehikkita and V'hacharemtem. Okay, so we have kind of an instructional sequence, and it's very common in biblical Hebrew to see that modal continuity based on the imperative followed by the Weqatal. Lech Vehikkita V'hacharemtem. Also interesting, yet not unique, is the masculine singular lech, masculine singular Vehikkita, but shifting to the plural V'hacharemtem, masculine plural. Okay, shifting back to the singular V'lo tachmol alav, masculine singular. Okay, this is interesting. Who is commanded here? Again, we have a vehemata, again going back to that Weqatal verb, and again going back to that masculine singular. So who is commanded here? It is mainly Sol, lech vehikkita velo tachmol vehemata, but we also have the plural, v'acharamtem. Okay? Some commentators could go to the textual part and say, oh, no, originally probably it had v'acharamta. But linguistically, it's not uncommon to have a shifting of person and number in such a sequence. It's not the standard, but we see it. Okay, are you with me, guys? Another interesting phenomenon here is merismus. Do you remember what merism is, guys? Merism, or if you want to sound super smart, you add the us at the end, and you now completely different people. In English, we say merism. In Latin, merismus. It's the same phenomenon. Anyone remembers? We've talked about that in the past. Very good. So I did not do a very good job if nobody remembers, but now, from now on, you're gonna remember that phenomenon. It's quite common in biblical Hebrew. Note meish ad isha. So first of all, me ad or ve'ad me ve'ad mi ve'ad. Do you see the structure, guys? From, up until, from, until, from, until, or up to. Okay? Now, what is the content? The A and the B, from A to B, from A to B, from A to B, from A to B. Okay? You take two edges, and edges could be far away or it could be quite similar of a general concept in order to express the two ends represent the whole thing, the whole spectrum, okay, the whole category. So when it says mi'ish ad isha, me'olel ve'ad yonek, mishor ve'ad se, migamal ve'ad chamor, this is a syntactical structure that includes everything.
From A to Z.
From A to Z, alpha to omega, right. Thank you very much for these examples. But I'm not sharing the millions that I'm making as a biblical Hebrew teacher, Gary. Don't ask again. Okay, right. You know the joke about Bill Clinton. They did a survey of the ladies in America. Would you have relations with Bill Clinton? And 50% of the women said no, and the other 50% said not again. So, yeah, that's an old joke from the late 90s or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so now that everybody is awake, we can continue because I don't. It keeps people awake. Okay. מאיש ועד אישה, מעולל ועד יונק, מישור ועד צא, מגמל ועד חמור. We have this merismus, this syntactical structure that expresses everything. By the way, some commentators view Genesis 1:1 as a good example of that. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Oftentimes we follow the Greek translation and we simply say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? That's how commonly people refer to the first verse of the Bible. But some would tell you that the first verse of the Bible actually means when God started creating everything. Then the earth and so forth was like this and that. And they would not be far off. They have a very good case. Okay. Bereshit, in the beginning of. Bara is a verb, but a construct noun constructed upon a verb is something that we do see in the Bible. Not common, but we do see that. So in the beginning of that which God created, the heavens and the earth could be a merismus for everything. So when God started creating everything, this was the situation, and God said, let there be light. So you might have a good example for a merismus already in the first verse of the Bible. Okay, so that's merism.